Welcome back to another episode of the B Jack 70 Show. I'm your host, Brandon Jackson, and we have a lot to talk about. We have to recap Brandon's bets and get through all of the news coming out of the last weekend of the regular season in the NFL. But before we do, just want to say really quick, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, go to Spotify, subscribe on Spotify. And I got another thing for you. If you could do me a favor, go ahead and hit up bjack70.com. I wrote a little article about Kevin Stefanski titled It's Complicated. Just going through how I'm feeling, how we should be feeling as Browns fans, getting rid of Kevin Stefanski, keeping Andrew Berry. Just some quick and easy read for you. Just head on over to bjack70.com. Go ahead over there, read that. But yeah, man, we got a lot to talk about, and it's pretty much gonna all be centered around the 5 Brandon's bets that I gave you last week. Getting into detail with those, talking through some of the stories coming out of those 5 games. Talk a little bit about the coaches and the organizations that let their coaches go. A couple of them that are safe that we thought might get fired, and then we'll get out of here. But starting with Brandon's bets, 50 and 40, 50 wins, 40 losses against the spread for 55% this season against the spread through 18 weeks. I think it was a good year. I'm happy with that year. I'm happy with that outcome. First year, documented, picking 5 every week. You know, a lot of people close to 500, well under 500. For a first timer, I'm happy with it, and we'll do nothing but continue to get better in the future. And we'll see how we handle the spreads in the playoffs moving forward. I really don't know how I want to do it. Usually when I've picked playoff games like on the internet before, I usually just go money line. I'm good. I've been pretty good at just picking just winners straight up. Not really against the spread in the playoffs, but we'll see. That'll, by the time we get to Friday, we'll know what we're doing, and you guys will see it. But and as far as everything, like all the playoff matchups coming up this weekend, we'll get into that in the middle of the week. We'll have a dedicated show for that, and I hope to have a guest on here to analyze those matchups and go over those matchups. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, as far as last week, week 18, let's just get into it. So the Panthers +3 at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The bet hit. Panthers lost by 2, 16-14. I think it was 16-14, but I know they lost by 2. Bucks win, but they don't get into the playoffs still because the Falcons on Sunday won against the Saints, and it was a 3-way tie for the lead of the NFC South, and the Panthers got the tiebreaker. So Panthers are in the playoffs. They win the NFC South, win a bad division. And, we thought it was a bad division, but we didn't think the Bucks would fall from grace like they did. And I'm looking at this Tampa Bay Bucks team. Somehow Todd Bowles is still safe. Somehow he's still employed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, good for him. Usually black coaches don't come back from collapses like this, but so far so good. And I'm recording this as of Monday night, so if something happened Tuesday or Wednesday, I don't know that yet, but so far so good for Todd Bowles. But this Bucks team, they're in the same position that the Browns were in with Baker Mayfield. Injured shoulders, inconsistent play on the field, contract negotiations coming up. Now, Baker has another year left on his deal. And of course, you got the franchise tags to keep him under organizational control. But as an older player, I don't know how he's going to be feeling about that in particular. But yeah, Bucks have to make a decision. Do they go into this summer? Do they try to extend him? Do they try to extend him at around the number that he's already getting, which is somewhere in the 30 million, 30 something $1 million a year range? Do they try to stay around there and keep it cheap, or does Baker not go for that? Does he look at Brock Purdy, and does he look at Tua and Trevor Lawrence and all these guys with the bigger paydays? Does he try to fight for something like that? And if he does try to fight for it, do the Bucks give it to him? Who knows at this point? But they're going to have to make a decision. On the other side, this Panthers team, I have zero faith in them moving forward. This was an ugly game. Yes, the refs were very bad, and it was very unfortunate toward the Carolina Panthers. But I mean, you got to take some responsibility. This team has got to get some offense going if they want a chance in hell against the Rams. But like I said, we'll talk about that later in the week. But yeah, I can't imagine the Panthers doing anything significant moving forward as far as this season goes, since they're still playing in it. But yeah, Panthers +3, it hit. And yeah, that was one of the 2 wins that I got this week. Panthers +3. So later Saturday night, the Niners +1.5 versus the Seahawks. They got blanked. They didn't get blanked because they scored 3 points, but they got shut down. This Seattle Seahawks defense may be the best unit in football. Houston's defense probably has something to say about that. Denver's defense probably has something to say about that. But man, the Seattle Seahawks defense, flying to the ball, physical, heat-seeking missiles out there. They are not messing around. Brock Purdy, the 49ers, they Trent Williams was out, Ricky Pearsall was out, George Kittle coming off an injury, his first game back. I don't want to down the 49ers too much, but I'm feeling some type of way because as soon as I bet on Brock Purdy, he wants to he turned into JJ McCarthy with dance moves, he hitting the Dougie, and he'd do. Every time I bet against the Niners, Brock Purdy is Joe Montana. But now when I put my faith into Brock Purdy, he wants to act like he's actually Mr. Irrelevant. So I don't appreciate that. And like I said last week, I didn't know how much I could trust this Niners team. And I still don't know. I trust them even less right now. I'll tell you that much. But I will have to start putting some respect on the Seattle Seahawks name. Sam Darnold, I said he needed to prove me wrong. I didn't think he could get it done in another primetime game in a huge spot. Seahawks playing for the 1 seed in the bye week. He did what he needed to do. But this was on the backs of the defense and the coaching and the run game. San Francisco couldn't stop a nosebleed. Kenneth Walker did what he wanted. Zach Charbonnet did what he wanted. And that was pretty much it. That was pretty much it. So I do need to put a little bit more respect on Seattle than I've been giving them, but I will believe it when I see Sam Darnold holding up the trophy on February 9th. Until that happens, I'm not going to believe in him specifically. I don't think he can get it done. But in a wide open NFC, wide open AFC, anything is possible. And with a defense like they have, truly anything is possible. But moving on to Sunday, the Browns plus 7.5 at the Cincinnati Bengals. Browns won 20-18. And the most important part of the day is Myles Garrett got a sack, broke the sack record, celebrated. Team carried him off the field on their shoulders. Cincinnati was mad about it. Joe Burrow was mad. Jamar Chase was mad. Zach Taylor was mad. I don't give a damn. We don't give a damn. We wanted the sack record. They could, when Drew Brees broke the single or the career passing yards record, they brought his family on the field. So I don't want to hear it. It was about 20 seconds, 30 seconds of celebration, and then we got back to it. So I really don't want to hear that from them. If they didn't want it to happen, tell the tackle not to get beat. I know it's pretty difficult. Myles Garrett looks like, maybe at this point the second best pass rusher ever. I can't say he's the best because Lawrence Taylor did exist. I'm not that far yet. But if he continues to do what he's been doing, it's going to be undeniable. But Myles Garrett, clearly the best defensive player in the league, best edge rusher that we've seen in 30 years. I just want to say congrats to him. Congrats to him, and I'm glad that he's a Cleveland Brown. Nothing but hard work, freakish athleticism, by all accounts, a great guy, just a great ambassador of the game of football, of the city of Cleveland. And I'm very happy that he was able to achieve that really illustrious record. Very happy he was able to achieve it. But yeah, the Browns got the win on the backs of Myles Garrett and the defense. Two touchdowns. Excuse me. 2 turnovers returned for touchdowns from the Browns defense. They Marshawn Lynch celebrated into the end zone both times getting a penalty after it. But I had fun. It was a great time watching it, and I know people are upset about the draft positioning. They ended up with the 6th overall pick. People are mad, but it is what it is. The players on the field, they're going to fight. They're going to keep fighting. They're going to fight for their pride, fight for their ego. Football players play football. So they went out there and they did their jobs and they won the football game. As far as the offense goes, we see what Shedeur Sanders looked like out there. And yeah, he led the game-winning drive, and he had a couple passes that, one of them was dropped in the end zone, had a couple good plays, but we see what it looks like. We see what it looks like, and I'm a fan of his, but you kind of have to be objective when you're watching football. And the performance that he put up in the first half was one of maybe the worst half of football that I've seen by a quarterback in the National Football League. That was every flaw that anyone ever brought up about Shedeur Sanders in regards to him as a prospect reared its ugly head in that first half. He failed to read the defense correctly. He threw it into double and triple coverage multiple times. He held on to the ball too long. He drifted into the back of the pocket, drifted himself into pressure, ran himself into sacks. It was flatly a pathetic performance by Shedeur Sanders playing quarterback. in that first half and into the third quarter. It was a terrible performance. Um, and I'm gonna get on here and I'm gonna stand in front of it. There's no way I can defend what he put out on film in that football game. There's no way I can defend it. I will defend what I said last week about him playing against the Steelers, that he made a couple bad decisions, a couple of bad plays, but otherwise, nothing that he did was, apart from those bad plays, was egregious. But this game against the Bengals, man, it was multiple bad plays, multiple times that was like multiple plays that were executed poorly. Um, there's really nothing. I really can't take away anything from that game and spin it in a positive way. Like, yes, they got the win, but it was because of 2 defensive touchdowns and a game-winning field goal. Like, he didn't put any points on the board. He put 3 points on the board, and that's not something I can get behind fully. And when we head into 2026 and we talk about this Browns quarterback room and Shedeur Sanders being the starter for the Cleveland Browns, we're going to talk about it. The Browns are going to have a new head coach, and with what he put on film on Sunday and across the 7 games that he started, Shedeur is going to have to fight to stay on the roster, let alone be the starter. He is going to have to fight to prove his worth to this new head coach that's going to be a part of this organization. Given the fact, the noise that is created, not really through fault of his own in the media, but that is a big part of it through that and his on-field play. Nothing. He had a long runway. Had a long runway of 7 weeks of starting quarterback football, and he wasn't able to convince us that he should be the unquestioned starting quarterback going into 2026. I still think, I'm not going to give up on him. I still think I don't know. I'm going to have to watch that film, but I don't want to give up on him. I still think he should be on a roster. I still think he'll do well at some point in this league, but after what I saw on Sunday, I cannot in good faith argue that he should be the guy. I can't do it. I cannot do it. And my credibility is something that I hold sacred. And if I got on here and I told a different story, I would lose that. I would be lying to you guys. So that's not something I want to do. I've always come on here and I've been honest about how I felt. When I thought he should have been a starter, when I thought he was a higher than a 5th round pick at this whole time. I've been honest with you guys, but the proof is in the pudding. He's been out there on the field. He's been able to show what he's shown. There's been flashes of really good. There's been flashes of elite. There's been flashes of amazing accuracy and amazing arm talent and amazing plays, but there's been too many negative plays. He lost a fumble. There's just, too many turnovers. The turnovers are killers in the NFL, and some of them through no fault of his own, but some of them, running into pressure, getting tackled from behind, fumbling the football, that's going to be on him. And we gotta be honest about it. So again, with the new head coach, he's gonna have to fight. He's going to have to fight to prove his worth to whoever they end up choosing. And I'm sure it doesn't help because whoever gets the job, the first question in their press conference is going to be about Shedeur Sanders. That's going to be the first question in the new head coaches, whoever is going to be. That's going to be the first question in that press conference. And that's kind of insane. It's not going to be about Myles Garrett breaking the sack record. It's not going to be about what's your vision for the team moving forward. It is going to be some form of question about Shedeur Sanders, and that might keep people away from this job, quite frankly. But for now, that's all I want to say about that. Kevin Stefanski got fired. And once again, for a little bit more of my feelings about that, go to bjack70.com. Click on the picture of Kevin Stefanski, read that, and you'll have more of my thoughts. But to basically sum it up, it's understandable that he got fired. It is very possible that he goes elsewhere and has success. That is a very possible outcome, but we Cleveland Browns fans, you have to be okay with that. The team, they like him. They fought hard for him, but the production was not there. You're 45 and 56 after 6 years. It's not good enough. That wouldn't be good enough for anyone. You gotta try to get somebody else in there. At a certain point, it doesn't matter how much they like you, how much they play hard for you. If they're not producing winning football, if you're not producing competent offense, no matter what it looks like, what the roster looks like, if you're not producing a competent offense for 2 whole seasons and you're the offensive guy, it's not going to end well for you. So to put it plain and simple, it was a good run. I wish him the best. I don't harbor any ill will towards Kevin Stefanski. I'm not even necessarily happy that he got fired, but it's just something that probably had to happen. But yeah, if you go ahead and read that, you'll get how I was feeling at the time that I wrote it. So go there for a little bit more. But Stefanski's gone. Somehow Zach Taylor is safe. Joe Burrow was really love Zach Taylor for him to still have his job. That's all I can really say about it. I don't think he's a good coach. I don't know what he's done. He made the Super Bowl 5 years ago. They haven't been to the playoffs since 2022. And yes, Joe Burrow's been in and out of the lineup during that time, but come on, bro. What has he done? He is not doing anything to garner any goodwill as far as I can see. But Zach Taylor is safe and he seems, we'll see how that goes. But I really don't understand the thought process there in Cincinnati. But moving on to the next game, the Bears -3 versus the Lions. Bears didn't pull it out. The Lions won. Came down close. Came down to the end of the game. Bears had a chance to tie. Or I don't even. Yeah, Bears had a chance to win the game outright. I believe, but they just started. They started too slow. They came out. Seemed like they didn't care about the football game. Let the Lions do whatever they wanted on offense up until they got to the red zone. Lions scored 16. We're up 16-0, and Bears looked like they didn't want to play. They looked like they didn't want to play. right up until they got into the fourth quarter and then they took off. Caleb let him down, scored, 2-point conversion, stopped him, got the ball back, let him down, scored, 2-point conversion. It was electric. It was electric. I love watching this Bears offense when they're firing on all cylinders like they were for a stretch during this game. Caleb is every bit of the number one superstar prospect that we thought he was coming out of USC. You know, he's not that for 100% of the time, but when he taps into that, there's nobody like him playing quarterback in the National Football League. It's incredible the things that he can do. Running the football, throwing the football, getting away from pressure. He's really a joy to watch. I love Colston Loveland, Luther Burden, just getting better with every rep, seemingly. Ben Johnson was the right guy to take this role. I love what they're doing. I love seeing this team, but they, this game in particular for this bet, they just started a bit too slow, and it ended up biting them. Well, for their purposes, it didn't really matter because Philly also lost, and the Bears are the 2 seed. But for this bet's purposes, it ended up biting them because they started off so slow. But we will talk a lot about the Chicago Bears later this week, because I'm really interested in this football team and this offense and what they do in the NFC moving forward. But the last game of the regular season, last game of Brandon's bets, Ravens minus 3.5 at the Steelers. Didn't hit. Steelers won 26-24 in an unbelievable classic football game. Aaron Rodgers turned back the clock for a second. Lamar Jackson for a quarter, for the fourth quarter, turned back into prime Lamar Jackson that we've seen for the majority of his career. Came down to, on one side, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they scored a touchdown. DB for Baltimore slipped. Aaron Rodgers saw it, hit the guy in the end zone. Chris Boswell misses an extra point. The game is 26-24. Lamar gets it back on the other side. Improbable throw to Isaiah Likely on a 4th down and 10. 4th and long, throws it up to Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely comes down with it. They get in the field goal range. Take a knee, set it up for Tyler Luke perfectly. 44-yard field goal. He shanks it. Was never close. You never had me. You never had your car. If you know, you know. It was never close. And Ravens lose. Pittsburgh wins. Pittsburgh wins the AFC North. Pittsburgh will be playing in the playoffs. Ravens go to the crib. And I'm not even mad about losing that bet. I'm really not mad about it, because I put my faith into Lamar Jackson, and he delivered. He delivered. Yeah, he threw an interception, but it was a crazy tip flip combination of things. TJ Watt ends up with it. I'm not going to put this game on him. He made some of the most amazing plays that we've ever seen him make. And he's made some unbelievable ones. What he did on Sunday night, 2 defenders collapsing on him. He squeezes out of that, throws a 50-yard bomb on a dot. Nobody else can do that. Nobody else in the league could do that the way that he did it. So even though I lost, even though I was on the wrong side of it, I'm not even mad. Lamar showed up. The reason I picked the Ravens was because I thought Lamar would show up, and Lamar showed up. Maybe, if the DB for Baltimore doesn't slip, they hold Pittsburgh out of the end zone, because Pittsburgh couldn't have kicked the field goal. Pittsburgh was down 4. They needed to score a touchdown, and just through happenstance, defensive back slips, they score a touchdown. If that doesn't happen, who knows what the outcome is? So I can't even really be too upset either way. Aaron Rodgers, against all odds, 42 years old, is back in the NFL playoffs. And that's something, I don't know if I'll pick with him or against him, but as far as me sitting here right now, that's something I got to appreciate. I'm a fan of Aaron Rodgers. I love watching Aaron Rodgers play football. Love watching him turn back the clock, even if it's against my betting interests. And for a couple plays, for a couple seconds, he turned back the clock, and he came through in a big way on the biggest stage, in a way that he didn't leave in Green Bay. And I want to take time to appreciate what we're watching. A Mike Tomlin led Steelers team. Mike Tomlin, once again, against all odds for him, bringing this Steelers team, winning the AFC North again, taking them to Wild Card Weekend. The NFL is amazing. The NFL is the greatest television program that we've ever seen. You just cannot make these type of games up. You couldn't script these out better if you tried. So yeah, shout out to Aaron Rodgers. They're in the playoffs. We'll see what happens, but Sunday night was a classic, and that's not something that we will soon forget. Tomlin in the playoffs, probably safe. No matter what happens in the playoffs, he's probably going to be safe. John Harbaugh, on the other hand, also seems to be safe. Again, this is Monday night. I'm recording. I don't have any alerts going. I don't know what's happening, but as far as I know, John Harbaugh is still coach of the Baltimore Ravens. And if he stays the coach of the Baltimore Ravens, we'll see what it looks like in the offseason. We'll see what it looks like with Lamar Jackson moving forward. But that's something to keep our eye on. And last but not least, we'll talk about the rest of these coaching situations that we didn't get to. We already knew Titans fired their coach during the season. Giants fired Brian Daboll during the season. Las Vegas Raiders fired Pete Carroll. One and done. It was a kind of interesting hire to begin with last season. They forced in Chip Kelly to be his OC. That was a disaster. Seemingly the rest of it was a disaster. They have the first overall pick. Wasn't a good fit. Geno Smith is probably out the door. New quarterback on the way. New regime on the way. Tom Brady leading the way in the front office. Yeah, nothing much to say there. I'm not surprised. This was a terrible year for the Las Vegas Raiders. Some people thought, they might have had a little bit more juice than they showed, but they very quickly showed that they had none. And then surprisingly, Jonathan Gannon of the Arizona Cardinals got fired. From all accounts heading into Monday, I thought he was good. All the reporting I had seen said Jonathan Gannon was safe. I didn't understand. I didn't know why that would have been the case. And And that seemed to have proven to be right because he didn't survive. He got fired. So Cardinals looking for a new coach, probably looking for a new quarterback. I can't imagine. I mean, I guess we'll see with whoever they bring in to be the head coach. Maybe they want Kyler. Maybe it's an offensive guy that sees something in Kyler that he can work with. Either way, I'm a Kyler Murray fan, so I'll be rocking with him wherever he ends up, even if it's still in Arizona. So we'll see how that goes. And then last but not least, Raheem Morris out of nowhere. Well, not really out of nowhere because I had been paying attention to Atlanta, but Atlanta had been winning some football games. They technically tied for first in in the NFC South, but he was fired. Their GM was fired. Um, whole looking to be a whole new regime getting set up in Atlanta down there. Michael Penix, hey man, the dudes that loved you and really wanted you are gone, and you're injured, and you weren't that good before you were injured. That's all I really need to say and put out there. Watch your six, brother. Watch your six. Kirk Cousins still under contract there. Who knows what they end up doing? They don't have a first round pick. They have the bare bones of a pretty good roster. Seems like down there. Um, the person that they traded their first round pick for, James Pierce, finished with double digit sacks. So that was good. Um, that was a good move by them. But they took Michael Penix inexplicably after giving Kirk Cousins a huge contract. Um, we'll see who ends up down there. If Kevin Stefanski ends up down there, Michael Penix, I'm telling you, you're out of there, buddy. Feels like Kevin Stefanski has tried to be in the same room working with Kirk Cousins for multiple years at this point. So if he goes down to Atlanta, he may want him to stick around, and he may get that wish. But yeah, so that's it. That's it. That's a wrap on the NFL regular season. Like I said, later in the week we'll be talking playoff preview, playoff matchups coming up this weekend. Brandon's bets will be here on Friday. Yeah. Thank you for watching. Appreciate you being here. Again, like the video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe on YouTube, hit up bjack70.com, and it'll be all good. It'll be all good. I appreciate you being here. Appreciate you watching. And until the next time, I'll see you.